Hello, my name is Emma Lovell, and I'm a researcher at the Overseas Development Institute in the Risk and Resilience Program. I'd like to start by thanking the Government of Mexico for hosting this conference and to UNISDR for giving me the opportunity to speak on the Ignite stage. I'm going to be talking today about communicating climate science for disaster risk reduction decision-making. Have you ever wondered how climate change contributes to extreme weather events such as droughts, floods, and heat waves? How do we communicate these findings to inform policy and practice? Answering these questions provides important links to the Sendai framework in terms of how to integrate science and technology to inform decision-making around climate extremes and uncertainty. This will also help reduce disaster risk. Watch this interesting animation which explains the process behind attribution science and its importance for preparing for the future.
Does it seem like heat waves are hotter and more frequent? Droughts last longer? The heaviest downpours that lead to damaging floods happen more often. That's because in parts of the world, some kinds of extreme weather events have become more frequent and intense. Scientists say this increase is due to human-caused climate change, caused primarily from the burning of fossil fuels like coal, gas, and oil. At the same time, exposure to climate-related hazards is increasing as more people and more assets are located in coastal areas, floodplains, heavily populated cities, and informal settlements, all places particularly affected by weather extremes like floods and intense heat. Marginalized groups such as women, children, and the elderly, people with disabilities, indigenous people, and ethnic minorities are often the most vulnerable to these events. Extreme weather can have catastrophic consequences, including crop failure, infrastructure damage, displacement, spread of disease, poor health, even death. What if we could better prepare for these hazards by understanding the changing risk of extreme weather events? Now that's possible. Due to recent advancements in science and technology, scientists can look for signs that climate change has contributed toward extreme weather events and can use this information to understand if climate change is making these extreme weather events more or less likely to occur, or more intense than they would have been otherwise. This is called attribution science. This science uses observations of what has happened in reality to understand the historical context of an extreme weather event and simulates possible events with computer models, with and without climate change, to see if the observed event was made more likely or more intense with climate change. Having the ability to accurately assess and predict the risk of an individual extreme weather event happening may help us put in place measures to lessen the impact of future events, reducing or eliminating heavy destruction and loss of life. Take, for example, the heat wave that gripped southeastern Indian states in late May of 2015. Temperatures topped 45 degrees Celsius. Hospitals were so crowded with patients suffering from heat-related conditions that some people were turned away. It's estimated the heat resulted in 2,500 deaths. Scientists found that climate change made the deadly heat wave twice as likely to happen. This gives us scientific evidence, not simply a guess, at the risk of similar heat waves occurring in this part of India in the future. That knowledge opens up opportunities for preparedness. For example, in India, the city authorities in Ahmedabad in Gujarat state partnered with public health agencies and community groups to prepare for extreme heat. Informed by climate science, the partnership developed a heat action plan detailing an early warning and response system. The Heat Action Plan launched in 2013 and is helping to reduce heat-related deaths in the city. A severe heat wave in 2010 claimed the lives of approximately 1,300 people in Ahmedabad, while fewer than 20 heat-related deaths were reported in the city during the devastating 2015 heat wave, which killed thousands elsewhere in India. Heat waves are the type of extreme weather where it is common to find climate change played an important role. For other extreme weather events like droughts, the influence is generally subtler, making them trickier to analyze. In particular, even though we expect the risk of heat waves and downpours to increase globally, locally other factors, including changes in weather patterns, might act against the expected trends. But having scientific knowledge of the changing nature of the risks of individual extreme weather events helps us put in place plans to keep more people, more places, more often out of harm's way.
Immediately after a disaster, there is the chance to strengthen decision-making to build resilience. There's an opportunity to learn from the event, which can provide the chance to build back better and help people prepare for future events. But to do that, we need to think about what people are using to inform these decisions. They may be looking to the past to guide them, but they also need to look to the future and take into account climate uncertainty. If we look at what happens after a disaster, there is a lot of confusion. Take, for example, the Chennai floods in 2015 in India. If you look at the top left-hand article, it says that the Chennai floods cannot be directly attributed to climate change. Whereas on the top right-hand side, it says that it was not to do with climate change. It was to do with climate change. The media is often the means through which people receive information on extreme weather events. They help us understand the scale and severity of these events and their impacts, as well as providing crucial information to a wide audience on emergency response and adaptive measures. However, different newspapers will be reporting different things about the hazard, the impact, and the response mechanisms, leading to confusion. Because of their influence and access to multiple platforms, it's critical that journalists understand the climate science behind extreme weather events attribution, which will help them make sure that they're communicating information in a clear and accurate way, which will help to remove some of the confusion and contribute to influence decisions around policy and practice. So how can attribution help? First of all, analysis can be carried out in real time as opposed to months after the event. This means that the science is being done within the policy timeframe within which decisions are being made following a disaster. Access to this data will provide accurate scientific information to help decision makers quickly inform their policies and plans. Second, this can help focus the conversation around the science, which will help guide decisions and thinking in the context of future risks and raise awareness about climate change and climate variability. It can also focus attention on the vulnerability and exposure of a context to consider why there was an impact. This will help promote partnerships between scientists, communicators, and policymakers to ensure more effective and informed decision-making moving forward. Take, for example, the Ahmedabad Heat Action Plan that we saw in the video just now. This is a direct example of where science was included in policymaking and has successfully helped to address heat-related health risk. The project was informed by climate science that demonstrated that extreme heat risks are increasing, and this led to the development of the Heat Action Plan. The success of the project has led to high interest from other Indian cities and states who are hoping to replicate and scale up this process. So, next one. Key messages from my presentation in terms of communicating climate science for DRR decision-making include, first, the need to combine climate science including early warning event attribution and vulnerability and exposure information, to provide a holistic assessment of risk, which can help inform decisions for the future and a changing climate. Second, providing accurate information during the critical window of opportunity following a disaster will help the media communicate information in a timely and accurate way, which will help prepare those responding and planning for future events. Third, partnerships are needed to bring together policymakers, scientists, and communicators to improve decision-making around disaster risk reduction. Ensuring these initiatives are locally led will help bring salience to the communication of climate science and will help tailor these messages towards the decisions that different stakeholders are having to take. Such an approach will help bridge the science, communication, and policy gap through multi-stakeholder partnerships in order to build resilience, as is outlined in the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction. I am part of the Raising Risk Awareness project, which brings together scientists from the World Weather Attribution Initiative and the Climate and Development Knowledge Network. We're looking to understand whether climate change has contributed to extreme weather events such as drought, flood, and heat waves in India, Ethiopia, and Kenya. If you'd like to hear more about this project or to hear more about communicating climate science for decision making, please come and speak to me afterwards. Thank you so much for your time.